The U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says there is nothing wrong with one country pressuring another to achieve a goal. In Greece, Pompeo was asked if he thought Donald Trump's July phone call with the president of Ukraine crossed any lines. Trump asked the president to open an investigation into political rival Joe Biden and his son, and that is the central issue in the congressional impeachment inquiry. We get more now from Stephen D'Souza, who has details on Pompeo's argument.
His argument is essentially, there's nothing to see here. Everything that took place was just simple diplomatic relations between two countries, and nothing that was done was out of the ordinary or certainly not a high crime or misdemeanor. And Pompeo is, a key figure in this because, he was on that call with Trump when Trump made the request of Ukraine's president to investigate Joe Biden. He also may know more about the hundreds of millions of dollars in military aid that Trump requested be held back before that call took place, which Democrats allege was the leverage that Trump was using to get Ukraine to follow through with an investigation. Pompeo has also been the subject of a battle over documents, and he's missed a deadline from congressional investigators, a subpoena deadline that passed yesterday. And so Pompeo is a key figure, and he's tried to avoid talking about this on this overseas trip, but was pressed today. Take a listen to what he had to say to defend Donald Trump.
Look, I was on the phone call. I'm on almost every phone call with the president, with every world leader. The president has every right to have these set of conversations. I know precisely what the United States Department of State, indeed sitting in front of you, is the previous ambassador to Ukraine. We know exactly what we were doing there. We were trying to create a situation where it wouldn't be a corrupt government, right? We wanted to make sure that they didn't interfere in our election in 2016.
Now, he's mentioning the election in 2016. That's actually based on a conspiracy theory that Ukraine somehow had something to do with the hack of the DNC. And he's also cherry-picking his details. He's not mentioning, of course, at all the fact that Donald Trump requested of the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter. And what's interesting is that, we also heard from Pompeo about this battle over subpoena and battle over documents. He says that he's simply protecting State Department employees from harassment and that he will comply with the law. But so far, that doesn't seem to mean handing over any documents.
So a pushback here, as you say, cherry picking, but it does point to the type of defense strategy that the Trump team is now undertaking. Talk to us about that.
That's right. It seems to be one of the key messages that they're settling on, which is also a message that Bill Clinton used during his impeachment defense, which is, sure, something wrong may have happened, but it certainly doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. And that message was solidified on the White House Twitter account today. Let's show you what they posted today. This was actually a comment made by Steve Scalise, a Republican congressman. He said, "Here's the bottom line. No crimes and misdemeanors. Time to move on." And Trump, of course, on his own Twitter feed has said a version of this, of the many tweets he sent out defending himself, saying that he has an obligation, an absolute right to get other countries help in investigating corruption. And as for Republicans who step out of line, Mitt Romney criticized the president. He's now the subject of attacks by Donald Trump on Twitter, quite personal attacks, actually. And what's interesting to see is how this defense will play itself out over the coming weeks, because the evidence continues to build. We have text messages from State Department officials essentially confirming the crux of the case. We have the New York Times reporting that possibly a second whistleblower could come forward, one with more direct knowledge of the Trump call with Ukraine's president. And so a lot more information still to come out. A legal battle perhaps over subpoenas and over documents from figures like Mike Pompeo. So still a lot left to play out in this battle.